The Battle of Stalingrad, 1942 to 1943.
After already having captured parts of the Soviet Union already, Hitler was determined to conquer a bigger target in southern Russia. Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin believed this target to be the capital city of Moscow. However, the real target was Stalingrad, the large industrial center. Stalingrad produced all kinds of equipment for the Red Army, as well as housed the Volga River, which was important for shipping, among other reasons. But the biggest reason Stalingrad was chosen was because it bore Stalin's name, and Hitler knew if he could occupy it, it would be a huge moral victory for the Nazis and a huge moral defeat for the Soviet Union. These same reasons were also why it was so important for the Soviets, as they did not want a place named after their leader to be overtaken. After some ruthless comments made by the Führer, including saying that all men in Stalingrad will be killed and all the women removed, the stage was set for what would become a very bloody battle. Stalin called for all able-bodied Soviets to defend the city, and on the 6th of August, 1942, the Germans began their assault. The Soviets were able to hold off initial skirmishes, but lost over 200,000 men in the process. By now, the Soviets began to move valuables out of Stalingrad like cattle and grain. However, there were still over 400,000 people living in the city, but the Soviets believed this would push the Red Army to fight even harder. In their defense, the German Luftwaffe, or Air Force, was quick to disable the Volga River as they sunk ships and blocked routes after heavy bombing and bombardment. The Luftwaffe carried out bombing missions throughout the whole Battle of Stalingrad and killed tens of thousands of civilians in the process. Those civilians who were not killed were often sent to Germany to work as slaves. By early September, it was clear that the Luftwaffe was the superior air force in Stalingrad. The Soviets were now hurting, as those in Stalingrad not making weapons or equipment critical to the war effort were told to pick up a weapon and fight. Women and children were to make trenches and to aid in other ways. Stalingrad was now in ruins, and Stalin put out the now infamous Order number 227, telling his forces not to step back, meaning not to retreat. Those who did retreat could be tried and executed in the future, and in some cases shot and killed right on the battlefield by their superiors. Now, with under 100 tanks and under 20,000 Red Army soldiers still in Stalingrad, reinforcements had now been sent out. Russian General Georgy Zhukov was sent to organize the reinforcement soldiers in the mountains to the north and west of Stalingrad, and from there launch a counterattack known as Operation Uranus. Despite more significant losses, the Russians were able to form a perimeter around the city by late November, which trapped around 300,000 Axis troops. With no way either in or out, the Axis forces trapped in the city began to starve. The Russians knew that the winter was coming and that the Germans were not at all familiar with the Russian cold. The Soviets figured this is when they should move in for the kill. They slowly started to enter Stalingrad, cutting off more and more supply lines in the process. With more Soviet victories in other areas, like in Rostov-on-Don, the Axis reinforcements were stretched thin. At this point, German generals had given up on trying to rescue their soldiers trapped in Stalingrad. Even Hitler refused to admit defeat. But by the 2nd of February 1943, it was over, as the Red Army had now retaken Stalingrad and captured around 100,000 German and other Axis soldiers. Most of these captured soldiers were sent to prison camps in Russia, where most would die there. Small pockets of resistance continued to fight in Stalingrad for about another month until March. The defeat in Stalingrad was one of the first major military defeats for the Germans, as these losses would slowly continue until their defeat in May of 1945 at the hands of the Soviets. Thanks for watching.